Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and this is a video overview of this knife. And this knife is the Grimsmo Norseman. This is a knife produced by John Grimsmo and his brother, and Grimsmo has become somewhat famous in gear circles for being a really great machinist, and somebody that does a lot of work on the internet and YouTube and Instagram, explaining the machining that he's doing and sort of going through the process. And I think that there is no better way to tell a story to a gear geek than tell them the story of the process. I think ultimately we're the people that watch the how to make crayons videos on Mr. Rogers and how things are made, and if you do that with a knife, we're going to love you even more. And so even without getting to the knife itself, I can tell you that Grimsmo does a really good job of communicating his product and talking about his product, and really explaining why his product is worth the premium that custom knives are charged, that he charges for custom knives. This knife is it's much bigger than I thought it would be. You know, it has probably a 3.5, a 3.6 inch blade. I'm looking around, I'm in my workshop. I cannot find a, hold on here. In a little mess. I'm working on stuff over the holidays, including getting my bandsaw back up and running after the band on the bandsaw broke while it was running, which is not a fun experience. Alright, so let's see. There you go. So as you can see, it's pretty close to 4 inches from the pivot, or from the edge of the blade to the tip, but the cutting edge is probably almost exactly 3.5 inches. So there to there, yeah. It's a big knife, much bigger than I'm used to. But there are a lot of features on this knife that are really nice, and so let me go through some of them. First of all, this knife is incredibly smooth. This knife came in from Nick Shabazz, and you should know Nick Shabazz's YouTube channel. If you don't, if I can remember, I'll put a link in the YouTube description, but everyone should know Nick. He does a great job. It's incredibly smooth. This is one of the smoothest flippers I've ever seen. There's one knife that I've handled that I found to be a better flipper than pretty much anything else, and it was a full custom Tim Galen. I forget which model it was, but Tim Galen went on to join and Kershaw. I became an in-house designer for Kershaw, and the knife that I handled it at a Northeast Cutlery Collectors Association show, and it was owned and being sold by knife purveyor Dennis Farina, who was on Todd Begg's show, Blade Brothers, and is well known in the knife show circuit. He has a really good collection of custom knives. He's very knowledgeable. He's quite entertaining to talk to. He knows a lot about a lot of different kinds of knives. That Galen Custom was, without question, the best flipper I've ever seen. And it is better than this, but this is pretty darn close. Another knife that I would say is close to as smooth is the Shurgov Neon, which I had a chance to, a reader sent one in to me, and let me play around with it. And that knife was excellent, and it's as smooth. And then the final knife was a knife that another reader sent me that is one of my favorite designs ever, and it's the Kershaw Tilt. The Kershaw Tilt was the first knife with KVT bearings, and the end result was a knife that is pretty insane for a production knife. This knife, however, is right there and probably a little bit better than everything but the Galen. And the reason why is because the tolerances are just incredible. I mean, you get the feeling, and if you watch his videos, John will explain to you how these tolerances are dialed in a way that pretty much no one else does, or if they do, they don't do them on a massive scale like he does. The knife has a very unusual blade shape. It's this sort of recurved tanto, sort of a bulbous nose here. I've used this knife and I found that shape was actually pretty useful. That there were instances where I needed to make cuts like this. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. Hello? Doesn't want to focus. Well, anyway, there were times where I needed to make cuts like this. I think I was cutting out a label for a shipping envelope, shipping package right before Christmas. And this gave me a really nice surface to do it with. I didn't have to grind in the tip I was able to just press in the belly of this secondary edge here, and it did a really good job of cutting. I don't know how easy this would be to sharpen, because this is an awfully complex grind. I mean, it's not a compound grind, so we don't have to deal with any of that, but it is tough. As you can see, a lot of the hogging away of the thickness of the blade was done by machine. And these are CNC passes that John leaves on the blade. I actually think they're quite attractive. They remind me of the serrations on something like the, what is it? The R.J. Martin designed Kershaw. God dang it. What is it called? Anyway, I'll think of it later. It's a really, really good, really cool feature. I like the way it is, and here it's just done so well. Everything has this really nice, lustrous, sort of high-polished stone wash that reminds me of early custom hinderers. The flipper tab is rounded over, and it performs excellent. It's very, very crisp, and it snaps open quite easily. There's the gold thumb stud, looks great. There's a custom pivot, and as Nick shows you in his video where he takes this knife apart, the one half of the pivot is frozen, so it's easy to take apart. The pocket clip is a standard titanium sculpted pocket clip, and unlike a lot of them, this one actually comes in contact with the body of the knife, which means that it's actually going to give you some spring tension as opposed to just like wedging it into your pocket. I really, really like that. The knife is very thin. If you want to compare knives, take a look at this. That is the Grimsmo Norseman, and that is the GEC Small Jack number 25, and it is significantly and noticeably thicker. This is like a little fatso knife, and it is awesome too, but I'm very impressed at how thin they were able to get this knife, and just how everything is very, very polished. I like the jimping. I think the blade shape is a little strange, but it works. And they do give you access to the lock bar. So if you need to hit it, you can do it pretty easily. So there are a couple things that I would say I wouldn't say drawbacks, but there are things that I don't like on a knife. Number one, this knife with the flat handles is really, really slippery. It's not that I think that like you need to have jimping on a knife, because I don't think that's the case, but with a knife blade this big on a flipper, there are some instances in which I feel like this sort of grip that's necessitated by a flipper means I'm going to lose the knife. It's just so slick, and I would hate to lose somebody else's knife and drop it. So I've been pretty cautious. The other thing that I wasn't super thrilled about was, in addition to thinking that this would be like a sharpening nightmare, which apparently it wasn't because somebody put a really great edge on it, I'm not so thrilled with the finger scallops here. It's not like, you know, one of the old World War II Randalls, but this is more than I would prefer. I like something pretty simple. Like if I had my druthers, this would be about as much as you get, and maybe not even that much. But the wave feature, the wavy handle here, I don't like the way it looks, and I also don't like the way it feels in the hand. This is an instance in which maybe the knife is a little too thin. There's not a whole lot to grab onto. I would note that the pocket clip does not cause any hot spots. So good job there. Overall, the machining blows me away. This is one of the finest made knives. And to know that it was done on CNC, in my mind, makes that at least an equally impressive feat to somebody who's grinding it out by hand. Because not only do you have to know how to make a knife, but you also have to know how to program a CNC machine. And those things are two separate skills, one of which is not necessary to do the other. And so the fact that John knows how to do both is really impressive. I would have no problem whatsoever buying a Rask. If I ever got the opportunity, I probably would. The Grimsmo brothers just make really, really fine knives. I like the detail work here. Everything is clean and consistent. The fact that this knife is a little slippery just means that I prefer some texture, which a lot of the Rasks have. And the finger scallop thing is gone on the Rasks. Of course, for me, this knife is just too big. A 4-inch blade with a 3.5-inch cutting blade just doesn't serve my needs or my purposes, and I don't have an instance in which I would want to carry something this big. That being said, I could totally see why somebody would fall in love with this knife. It's beautiful, it's well done, it's a step above the average custom. If you get a chance, you should really check out the Grimsmo YouTube page, and you should also follow him on Instagram. And if you really ever have a chance, there's no reason not to buy one of his knives. They're phenomenal. So this is a video overview of the Grimsmo Norseman, and a review will be coming soon. Thanks.